first I have to take off the potentiometer. So that involves two bolts, both the same size. Then there are 4 bolts, all the same size. 1, 2, 3, 4, apologies, 5 of, all the same size. You see this little one here, now I took that out, that's a little short one. I've just had this cover off and then I put it back on. This little one here, it's a little short bolt, and that allows you to, I'll show you in a second, once you take this gently off using your adjuster stick, don't worry, that click's okay. That click is the detent spring inside that holds the gear selector in the right place, and it's going to be all over the place. Now, when you go to put this back together, you have to force this back, right back, because it's got to be, so it's going on like so, okay, and so it needs to be held right back, and to do that you force it back. You've taken that little bolt out, you force it back past that hole. It's quite hard, and you put a little screwdriver in from there to hold it, okay. Then when you put it back on, pull a little screwdriver out, and it's going to flick back in between into the detent spot here. So this is where we're at. The gearbox is upside down in the vise. The reason it's upside down is because up here I can't clamp this portion here into the vise because of these little winglets here that are stopping me from getting the vise jaws and having this the right way up. That's okay. Down the bottom, if you can see that, I have it in the vise. Whoops. I have it in the vise, and I have some ice block sticks, stirring sticks, wooden sticks in the vise jaws, so it's not crushing the face of the gearbox. Okay, are we clear on that? Everyone's happy? All right, I'm not destroying it, but it is upside down. Now, my understanding is that won't change the direction of play. So this shaft here, hope you can see that, this shaft here comes out through the clutch. Now, this would normally be with the shaft facing back towards you guys, and it's facing forward because it's upside down. But it doesn't change the direction that this shaft would go. Okay, it's going to turn anti-clockwise as per what the arrow shows on the clutch basket. The clutch basket fits over here. So we're clear with all that. Okay. Now, here's my gear selector, and I've used masking tape to wrap around the where the selector lever would go, and I've put vice grips on there. Okay, don't hate me. I'm doing my best. Right. So we've got this spinning. Currently we have a neutral, and I think this is a false neutral. Right, it's turning. We want to get to the end of it. Let's do a couple of quick shifts. Now, I can't remember, guys, but is it first down, all the way down to first, and then up to neutral, one click, is that right? If that's the case, then what we have here is first. All right. The output shaft is turning, okay, so that on the other side over here, that's turning. Right, I change it. Hang on. Right, we're all the way down. the output shaft is turning. This is a little bit tricky because it's such a small movement. Excuse my arm. We're going to come up and we're going to engage neutral. And the output shaft is not turning. We then change and we should be in second gear. Output shaft is turning. Third, output shaft is turning. Fourth, output shaft is turning. Fifth, we have a false neutral. We've got neutral. We've got nothing coming out. Shaft isn't turning. And that's it. We're running out of gears. So something's not right. We should have 6 gears. Okay, with some persistence, I managed to continue to turn it and get it to this selector fork here to engage what I believe is 6th gear. And I know that I'm now at the end because these selector forks have got to the end of their journey. Okay, and so I believe that's 6th, but what seems to be happening is it's going from 4th into a neutral position, being 5th, and I think it's just, I'm guessing it's either bent or worn, but it's not having enough width or pressure to force this one here across as it's turning. So tomorrow night we take it apart and we'll check the forks for, see if they're within spec. These ones here on this side seem okay. Something's odd over here. Now it's difficult in here because you haven't got everything located nicely into a frame, so things have got room to wiggle and jiggle a bit. It should be nice to have everything sit and sweet, but such is life when it's outside of the bike, right? Okay. Anyway, we're getting closer. At least we've got all selecting all the way through now. So we'll have a tidy up tomorrow evening and then we'll crack on with this. Okay, I'd like to take the shift drum out. And my understanding is that we need to get this bolt here out. So I'm going to remove that next. Of course it's not the right size. It's because the right size is on the other drive. Okay, it's quite a thin one. Just going to bag that now before we forget. And we'll call that the shift drum retainer bolt. You got that? That's what I'm calling it. I don't think it is, but I'll remember it as that. In the bag it goes, in the pile it goes. Okay, now what that allows us to now do is we now have our shift fork, the single shift fork out. And I don't know if you can see on there, because I can't. Ho ho! Here's our answer. There's our problem. The age-old problem of a worn shift fork. And that is stopping this gearbox from transferring from 4th through to 5th through to 6th. Couldn't see that with it in the gearbox, but that's exactly what we've got. Okay. So, while we're there, let's have a look at our other two. Now, just put that back in there for a second. Okay, so that's it's good to know that was the problem. It's a shame it wasn't just someone had put the wrong forks back in the wrong spot. And you know, here I was hoping that that'll be in perfectly good condition, but bit of a pipe dream. But sometimes you got a dream, right? Okay. So in order to get that shift drum out, we really need to release these out of the way. So let's get that out of the way. Let's see what condition we've got these other forks in here. And the way these come out, just so you know, you can't just pull the shaft straight out. You've got to turn it. It's got a little notch here, and there's a retaining plate, so you need to be able to turn that around to slide it out. I have to say, these forks look like they're in very, very good condition. So the question is, how good are they? Something that's a little concerning is at this stage, this fork here says 2 and then 287. This one says 3, 288. This one I would have thought was going to say 1, but it says 2, 8, 2, 2, 8, 8, 286, 286 maybe. So 287, 2, 287, and 3, 288, clearly. So that's those two. But this one says a 2 and a 28. Yeah, it's a 286. You gonna tell me it's a 286? Can't tell you what the other side says because it's all worn. Okay. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Now, let's get these forks out of the way.
parts arrived today. A little bit excited, apprehensive. So parts turned up for the 2007 K1200S BMW. So here should be a gearbox and a clutch. So let's crack it open and see how we go. Alright, so I've got a little tax invoice here. Great. Got a card here from used motorcycle parts online. I'll take a shot of that afterwards. So we've got a couple of boxes inside the box. Get some carton. Pass the parcel. Walk outward. Cardboard. Right, let's start with the big one. Oh, sweet, got a new t-shirt. Excellent. Already looks like it's done some work. Right, so we have gearbox. The tensiometer is not on the end of it. Hopefully, yeah, once the original one was swap over. Got the nut, which is important. And we've got the washer there as well, so that's good. So far, plus we get a free t-shirt out of it, really pretty happy about that. Slaw. Montgomery, there you go. Okay. Get this in on something nice and soft. Put that side down. We'll give that a really good clean up. Looks pretty good. We'll give it a good clean up and go through that and pull out the forks. Let's just have a quick little help with the ones I had. We'll run some calipers over those. And we'll just check to make sure they're within spec. Full package here. Okay, so that is the press fitting in front for the clutch, where the clutch mechanism comes onto it. We have the little gear, drive gear, which goes at the back of the clutch for the needle bearing for the oil pump. So that's good. My concern, I did ask if Frank could put this part in, was because of these locating nibs on the back. He wanted to make sure that they fitted with the clutch that they need to go with. There's a bolt there as well, with the plastic bag, so I might just put those back in that bag afterwards. Waste not one top. Okay, let's crack open this clutch basket. See what we've got there. So, okay, certainly looks very similar to what I have. Lots from there, looks good. Yeah. At first glance, that looks very similar to the existing. I think this part here might get away some secrets, hopefully, fingers crossed. But the drive shaft up here, that was separate. Just had that on the ground with the bikes. Let's move that. Let's get those parts there. Sitting up there. Right, last but not least, we have our clutch. Okay. So here we've got clutch there. I have to say, looks a little bit different. So that is, I believe, completely different plates. And it's definitely got, to check, I think that's got a lot more movement between the plates. So we'll check.
I just want to turn it through the gears, so we'll make sure it's all the way in one direction. Now, counterclockwise is what we need to do here, is turning the shaft counterclockwise. And we just, so we're in first, neutral. So you can see the spline here has stopped turning. I'll just go back to first. So you can see that spline moving. So that's the drive going out to the rear shaft, or the shaft of the bike, the rear wheel. So we're just going to, that's first gear. We go into second, neutral. We've got second, spline's moving again. Third. I like to be turning this as I do it. Fourth. Fifth. and top gear, 6th gear, and we're all the way around on the shift drum. Wow, I'm very happy with the result there. It goes through those gears very easily. I can turn it very simply. I'm going to take it back to neutral. So 4th, 3rd, 2nd, neutral. So there's our neutral. I'm going to put it on the bench. Now, I will give this a really good clean out, and I'm going to use some just brake cleaner, parts cleaner, but I won't do that just yet. I'm going to do that just prior to putting it in the bike, just prior to soaking it in the engine oil. So the trick is you don't want to make it all shiny and all the rest of it. There's a little bit of oil on here, a little bit of surface oil, which is really good. It's protecting those parts, particularly they're outside of the bike. There's humid air around. So just to keep a bit of oil on the surface of that is good. Yes, it's nice to give them a real good clean up and check for any little tiny filings or anything that you're washing out. But I'm just going to go over this now really carefully. I'm going to sit in front of it on my rolly chair, and I'm just going to turn it, and I'm going to go through each gear and just look at the teeth, and I'm looking for any chips or wear on those teeth. I've got a couple of weeks to check this out. Once I've gone over and turned everything around and checked all the teeth, I'm then going to just undo these bolts here. I'm going to pull the shaft out, the shaft here, check each one of these forks. Same on the other side. It's hidden underneath there. Check that one as well. It's the little one that worries me the most, but it looks pretty good, because that's the typical wear on these is on the smaller fork, is my understanding, and that's what I've experienced with the original box that I have. So I'm just going to go over this with a fine tooth comb, checking for any little dings or nicks off the end of these gears, any minor little fractures I might see. Pretty hard to see it, but now's the time. Definitely easier to have a look while it's outside of the bike than trying to look while it's inside, because I just don't fit inside the gearbox. Anyway, enough silly talk. Let's just get on. Let's just go through it, check it all out. It's just starting to get, this would be on the bottom of the engine up here. Just a little bit of moisture's got underneath the paint there. Certainly nothing to worry about. The spline looks good. These bolts here are nice. Everything on it looks good. I'm really happy. So I'm going to turn my attention to the clutch for a minute. I'll come back to this shortly, but I'm just going to check out the clutch. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to pull the clutch apart piece by piece. I'm going to check each plate, just because it's easy to do right now. Got my calipers. I'm going to write all the details down on the bench, down in front of me here. Just write the wear or the thickness of each plate. I'm also just going to check that against the other one that I've got, the original, and I'm just going to also check over this one here and just look for comparisons between the original and this one. There's certainly, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot more room in this one here for movement, which I'm just yet to figure that out. Might be something I'm just not seeing, but anyway, obviously we've got a few things to look at there. I'll just compare that to the other one, and I'll come back to you soon. Right, so this is the new clutch. Let's just put it on the bench, and I was wondering why I had so much movement, and straight away I've just noticed this spring here is around the wrong way. So when they've taken it out of the bike, they've put it back together. They haven't taken all this out as one piece. So they've obviously pulled that part there off, which you don't need to do. And then they've put that spring there back on upside down. So just to show you the comparison, I've got the other one out, and you can see this spring is creating the tension here. So we're going to take that apart. We're going to do some measuring of these plates, these clutch plates, and we'll write it all down, and then we'll check it against the wear limits from the book. A little bit odd, but it gives you the overall height of the entire plate stack when new should be 44.36. So we're at 44.26, so I'm pretty happy with that. And these clutch plates, so this is the one out of the 1300. Oops, hang on, where are we? 44.36, yeah. We're very, very close anyway. Doesn't take much to adjust it if I just wiggle things. Anyway, so I'm really happy with that. It looks like a new clutch, and I'd say it's very, very close to have been a new clutch before something's obviously happened to this bike. So, excuse me, one-handed. Okay, I checked that in a couple of spots, and I was really happy with that. So I'm just I'm just warming up the cleaning, my cleaner, ultrasonic cleaner, and I'm going to drop a few of these parts in there as soon as it's warmed up and clean some of them off, and then I will reassemble this clutch, or get it all ready. I'll probably leave the, actually I can't, I didn't get the oil, but I've got to leave these in oil for at least 24 hours. So anyway, we'll do that, but I'll get a few things cleaned up tonight and plastic bags ready to be oiled up. I just did a quick check on some of the specs and things, and everything's looking really good. So anyway, carry on. For those of you who are not familiar with a ultrasonic cleaner, this is an alloy. Just giving you an idea of, it's not very dirty, but you know, there's certainly some little bits of residue around there, and there's a little bit of dirt, you know, sort of in and around here, clutch dust and things. So I'm going to put it in the ultrasonic cleaner and show you how it comes out. Alright, we've got that topped up now, so I'll turn it on. I won't give you long to listen to this, but to give you an idea of how annoying this thing can be. Instantly, you see all those little bubbles form on top. So it's agitating the part through ultrasonic sound waves. So that'll probably do, right? Alright, so that part's just come out of the ultrasonic cleaner, and you can see, look, right down in the spline area there, it's clean. All I've done is taken it out. I gave it a quick spray down with some brake cleaner, parts cleaner, just a solvent cleaner basically, so that disperses any moisture off the alloy, out of any little orifices down in there. Clean that out, and yep, it's, you know, it's clean as. All the little indentations there, they're all cleaned up. I haven't wiped it or anything, it's just, yeah, you can see it. These marks on here, they look a bit ominous. I'm talking about these little marks here, where the plates, but to be honest, I can't feel it with my finger, so it's more of a staining than an indentation or anything. You know, if it was enough that I could feel it with my finger, I'd be, you know, might give it a little light going over, but it's not. It's just purely surface marking more than indentation. So please believe me. So yeah, very happy with that. We're going to put all this clutch back together tomorrow night. I'm going to get some oil. We'll soak all these plates tomorrow. Well, sorry, it won't be tomorrow night. I'll get the oil tomorrow after work. Soak these plates for 24 hours in the clutch oil and gearbox oil, and then the correct oil for the bike, and then we can reassemble. So we are going to put the plates into this plastic bag to soak in oil. Now these are previously used plates, but I'll admit they are a little bit dry for my liking. Now, might sound silly, but I'm going to write, now we've got two different ones here, I'm just going to write 1300S. We've got the original ones over on the bench over here, we've got the other ones here, all the 1200 parts together over here, but you would be, and I'm sure some of you out there are going to be nodding in a second when I say this, it is so easy to just put something down and go, what did I just do? Did I just move the original parts or the later parts? And you know, when they're so close, some of the parts are so close, you know, it is easy to get a little bit confused. Now, that's why I keep the camera going for as much as I can. Right, so just be careful of that. Keep everything separated, put it in a bag, label it, and you can do what you want with it. Right, starting off, we've got a little container here. I'm just using the lid off this, it's got a little bit left in this parts cleaner bottle, brake cleaner. So let's get a bit of oil. What am I doing here? We're just going to give these a little bit of a wipe, a little bit of a clean, get any residue or dust or whatever it might be off these parts before we put them in. Why aren't you using brake cleaner or something? Well, I'm not trying to take oil out of them, I'm trying to get oil into them. So by using all those things that are designed to remove grease and oils, I'm not going to be really doing myself any favours. You know, a little bit of dirt coming off, and most of it's just dusty stuff, and you know, it's not too much of a drama. But I'm just going to give them a quick wipe over, like so. There's one. Just put that there. I'm not trying to soak them in oil using a rag, don't panic. I'm just being very careful to give them a little bit of a wipe off before we soak them in oil in a bag. Okay, so I know by now some of you have already fallen asleep. So I'm going to finish off these ones and then I'll come back to you in a second. That's what I've just wiped off. You know, like it took me, what, 2 minutes to do that? Why wouldn't you? And I can realistically, when I'm finished, leave these in there until the very end, until I build the clutch up. Keep the remainder of the oil in the bag. There's nothing wrong with it. It's going in the same place anyway. And I could quite simply snip the end off there and not necessarily pour it back into the bottle, but pour it straight into, you know, into that or into parts that I'm doing. Use it on the gearbox to lube that up before I put it in. Things like that. So I guess it's just a case of not wanting to be wasteful. You know, a little bit of oil there and pop there. Just remember, if you use a lid from a spray can, just put a bit of tape over the little hole. Otherwise you'll wonder why you've got a big mess. Right, crack on. So, what we are going to do is, we're going to just pour a bit of oil in this bag already. I'll probably take that lid out first. Just pour enough in there to let out bottom. Oh, that's a bit mean. Just put a bit more in, Paul. Right, so put some in there. See what happens when you lay it out, nice and flat. And there you go. Number one's in there. Right. Number two. Flip it over. Number three. Flip it over. Just make sure it's got a bit of oil in there. Took a bit more oil in there. Remember, don't worry, you're not wasting it. You're gonna, if you got the smarts, you'll reuse it. Just be careful when you put these in, because I have done it myself before where I nicked the bag. Come to another top tip in a moment. So you can double bag them, but I'll show you what I do in just a second. Again, we just, you know,
Is it getting between everyone perfectly? No, not yet, but it will. One more to go. Right, so no big deal. Right, there we go. We've got it in there. Yeah. Some in the bag. See what I did there? In the middle. Now, quick as you can, and I probably should have done this first, keep those plates with that clutch, not the old one. Okay, so I'll just give my hands a bit of a wipe. Now, I just gave this a wipe out. What I'm going to do is make sure I have a nice clean reservoir to put it in. So if your bag breaks, big deal, the oil's collected in an oil pan, oil container, ice cream container. Ice cream container is really good for doing these actually. You just got to put your hands in and sort of pull them apart and occasionally flip them over things. Well, I do anyway. A lot of people don't. They just put them in there and leave it for 24 hours, an hour or 2 hours, whatever. Each to their own. I'm not in a screaming rush. I'm so organised that I can do this tonight and leave it all day while I'm at work. Yeah, how much did we use? I don't know, that much. Anyway, so I'll just flip that. Alright, no big deal. We'll just, you know, you can even do that and soak it in like that if you wanted to. You could put more in there. You could fill the bag if you really wanted to. You know, am I inclined to do that? Not quite. I'm going to put a little bit more in there and just make sure it's sitting in a bit more oil than that. But basically, that's it. You know, you can. I mean, if that's all you got and that's what you're working with, well, you just flip it over a few times. And just remember, I'm just sort of showing you what I would do, you know, in the morning before I head off to work. I'll just go like that with the plates, and you know, it'll be sitting overnight one direction. I'll flip it over and do that. So do it whatever you want. Ice cream containers, as I said, great. You know, you can put it in there, you can fill it up till it's to the top, whatever you want to do. Anyway, I'm just going to fill this up, put it in this container, and then I'll just cover this container so that I know that it's not going to get all dusty and dirty in there. Let's just go overboard here, shall we? These bags are really good. They are IKEA ones. A lot of them are these days. They're double Ziploc sort of thing on them. Just going to get a bit of air out of there. Sorry I'm boring you, but what's important to me might not be to you, and might be to some, and others are already asleep on their second cup of tea. Alright, so that's probably more like it. Like, you know, it's got enough now that it's pretty much up to the top. It is up to the top. When I put it in this container, I'll make sure I put it so that it's sitting like that, and put the lid back on our liquid gold, so to speak. Yeah, anyway, so that's what I do. Put it in the bag. As I say, leave it overnight. In the morning, come and flip it over. In fact, before I leave the shed tonight, I'll spend an hour out here each night, usually an hour and a half maybe, if I'm allowed. And just before I go on, I'll flip it over again, come back out in the morning, and 5:30 in the morning, flip it over, and I can worry about it all day long. All right. Hope that helps someone. Job's a good one.